I understand all of the reasons to focus on chronically homeless. I really get that. But on the other hand, if somebody wants to get in housing and they've been homeless for 11 months, you think we should?
Oh, no. It's just two different plans. The 10-year plan, I thought, was concentrating on the chronic homeless, whereas there's other services for people for homeless housing.
Right.
Okay.
Jackson Apartments would not reserve its services specifically for the chronically homeless. We would give a priority to the chronically homeless.
Whereas Manila and Flenniken, those are chronic homeless.
Yes. I think what may be happening is that we may be trying to make much too sharp a distinction between degrees. If you're homeless for 11 months and 29 days, technically by HUD's definition, even if you're disabled, you're not chronically homeless yet. So are you going to say, sorry, you can't have access to this kind of housing even though you might need it because you haven't crossed that threshold? And I think the answer is probably what I think is what I'm trying to say is probably not. We wouldn't be that tight about it. Let me mention something real quick. I think we've been joined in the back by maybe Councilman Del Volpe. I can't see. Yes, welcome, Councilman Del Volpe. I also see Madam Rivera back there behind Joe and Joe.
I wasn't hiding until Joe sat down.
I got two more real quick questions. Manila, is it coed?
Yes.
And Flenniken is going to be male only? Is that still the plan?
I believe that's correct. It's correct.
Well, to begin with, they said it was men only.
From 45 to 65 years old.
Yeah. It's again, I'm gonna default to Manila.
Ain't nobody knows.
And
They
I'm going to
have
default
that.
to all the context. It's part of the normalization.
We won't know what's going on. Then they change it.
Every apartment complex. Correct.
Well, it's just that when we first started, I think that everybody would agree that it was going to be a male-only facility, and now we're hearing that it's coed, and it's like, well, it's always been that way. That's kind of bothersome.
It's the untruthfulness, I think, that's going on.
She's correct.
You can, John Lawler told us. John Lawler told us in our meeting.
Yeah.
Would John like it was all male?
I think we're trying to get the answers.
Different than what's being said one time, and then it's coming back, and it's a different
That's
story.
exactly right.
What is, let me ask you this, because I'll be honest to tell you that my preference would be coed. What's your preference?
We just want to know the
I
truth.
really don't have a preference. Coed sounds fine, but consistent answers is more what we're looking for.
Okay, so what you're saying is what you really want is to
The truth.
The truth.
Right, know the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Excuse me. What happens if money gets cut out? Gets cut down?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
really glad you asked that question. Because I think that's a big question, and I think it's really, really important. And it could happen from the federal government on down. What happens, for example, if HUD stops funding Section 8 vouchers? Well, then people can't pay their rent. I mean, it's as simple as that. That could happen. I don't think it will, but it could happen.
Would these folks go first, or would they would these folks be moved to another place, or just, hey, go back out on the street?
Well, I have to say that if HUD started cutting money for vouchers, I think there would be such a hue and cry that they would have a very hard time doing that. People who are homeless have a priority in terms of getting vouchers, so I think they would be the last ones to lose vouchers. But again, I just, all I can say is I don't see that. Am I calling with people or are you?
safety issue, these other programs you're talking about, how many people are there?
They were all the way from 12 to over 200.
Well, here in Knox County. I'm talking.
Oh, in Knoxville?
Yeah, in the city of Knox.
Okay.
What was the question?
The other programs that I referenced in Knoxville, in Knox County, the other permanent supportive housing, how many people? Child and Family, I believe, has it's 2 houses that are side by side. There's a total of 312.
I don't know.
They're apartment buildings.
There are several
They're
different
apartment
Yeah.
buildings they have.
Yeah.
Well, you're asking what's the question, I'm sorry?
I want to know what size those complexes.
I think
I mean,
Child
I
and
mean-
Family, I think 1 and 2, Pleasantry, I think they have, I think 12 to 15 in each building.
That sounds right, because I was thinking 25 or so total units.
Okay, and we're talking about safety issues. And how many do you have on Jackson Square?
17 actually.
17. Now, I think the city has to pass an ordinance to keep sleeping on the streets. I think we have a problem by the way out on the street sleeping.
It's a little different.
But it's something like that, we have a problem. Now,
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is, let me get around to it this way. What I'm trying to say is, most people that want to go into this, they have some kind of problem. Most of it's alcohol or other use, is that correct? These people, they go into these dry-up places. When they come back out, why most of them never make it, they go back to the same place. And I mean, we're putting a group of people here, how many are going to be in Flenniken?
Flenniken is 48.
48 people. It's going to be hard for you to stay off of drugs with your friends on. And this creates a safety issue. Now, as far as the lady was talking about, hey, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, if it goes through. I asked John Lawler how much private money is going into this. None. Zero. You, the taxpayer, you're getting grants, which that's your money. You're getting money from the county and the city, that's your money, tax money. Plus, we're giving checks to the people that are renting from them, which is your money. Okay. Now, if these checks are cut out, I want you to understand this too. Now, this is what they told me this, and I didn't deny any of it. This property is going to be in the developer's name that you bought and paid for. If it falls flat, it's his property, and if he can't pay, then people can be put out, and he can do what he wants to with that road. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it was your building, nobody here.
I'm not familiar with it, so.
Good.
That's David Orning, he told us. Yeah.
I don't know if this speaks to the topic of safety, so I probably won't get into it, but is your question, what happens when there's no money to support?
The money dries up, it goes what?
Well, 5 years from now.
5 years from now, that building goes to you, is that correct?
So if you're real.
It goes to a partnership.
Partnership. They did not put one penny up, you, the taxpayer, pay for every bit of it.
That's
Correct that, that's not
Somebody,
true.
Lawler, you were checking up there, and you didn't know. When I asked you how much private money is going into this?
Well, on Flenniken, and again, I think this is a bit off topic, and I think this is
Okay,
probably.
I know it's off topic.
No, I think
These
this
things that happen in the
the reason I mentioned it is I think it's probably a good topic for one of our future conversations, so we can really get into it.
So do you think that a discussion of the costs and the sources of funds would be a good discussion for us to have?
I most certainly do.
I think it'd be better if we did that.
What I'm
than trying to do that here.
the safety issue is so many people being there, every one of them are going to have a problem. They're going to feed off of each other. You know, it's just like when I was a kid growing up. When your grandparents had you out working, you know, one boy you get a half a day's work, 2 boys you get a third day's work, 3 boys you get no work. That's going to be up there. They feed off of each other.
Actually, and I'm sorry, Dave, but
The safety factor.
this is your term, but I actually think it can be exactly the opposite of that, because I think when we get there, in the community, and we get neighbors within the apartments that are helping each other.
Well, that's what you see. We would like to see the guidelines on this safety issue, because these people are going to be feeding off each other. I see this lady right here, but the one stood up in our city council, and said, "This right here." They can bring alcohol in, keep control. These people have that kind of problem. There should be guidelines. Just like I said about Hillbridge, they need guidelines. When you're paying for it, there needs to be some restrictions. And if they really want permanent supported housing, they can do that.
That's a whole nother subject.
But you should say, hey, let me tell you, have you ever been drunk before? Huh? Have you ever been drunk?
Me, never.
I have. Let me tell you, if you're doing things when you're drunk that you wouldn't think you're doing when you're sober.
Well, I've heard stories about stuff like that. Let me recap real quick, because I think what you brought up is valid. Everything you brought up is valid. The issue of cost and the sources of funding, we talked about that in other venues. And we've even talked about some here. We can bring it up again.
Well, I'd like to
We can talk about it again.
Because the taxpayer thinks what I'm
Sure.
doing.
They, taxpayers have an investment in it. There's a lot of private money in it too. It's very complicated. So I think we owe it to people to explain how all that works. Very valid. The other issue that you brought up is related to policies that concern variety and that kind of stuff. That is a great conversation to have too. That's a whole 1.5, 2 hour conversation though. So if we can come back to that, that would be great.
That should not feel like that part, Shane.
Okay. Mr. Peabody has not spoken yet. I'll get back to you, will you? Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate you recognizing me. Robert, I've got a question. I'm a little confused about something, actually several things we've heard tonight. First, the bulk of the supported housing that currently exists in Knoxville, most of the individual facilities, Steps House, Salvation Army, Carm, the other facilities, basically all require abstinence. Most of them are based on a foundation of detox first and abstinence in order to be housed. Okay, so quite honestly, comparing what you're going to do with permanent supportive housing with the 10-year plan is a false equivalency. You cannot compare it to what currently exists here, quite frankly. Okay, that's my statement. Now, I'm very confused about something that, quite honestly, you said, Jenny, and you said, Robert. For 5 years, this plan has been called the 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness. The chronically homeless is who this plan has addressed because it has been billed as the number one or the highest cost of providing all the services to the total homeless population. It sounds to me like there's been a change in the plan. Would y'all like to explain that? Because Men's Villa and Flenniken were billed as chronically homeless housing. To what, quite honestly, what you both just said a few minutes ago sounds like that's not the case. Could y'all explain that?
Well, I will tell you that I'm speaking for BMC. I'm not speaking for anybody else. Our priority, our mission, if you will, is to help homeless people heal. Again, we have people that we have placed in Jackson, and it's going to come up with Villa that do not strictly meet the definition of chronic homeless. Are we going to place them? We are placing them at Jackson. We're not going to require them to maintain homelessness for another 2 months if we think that is an appropriate placement and we can help them. Now, that's a BMC stance. I will also tell you that we are aware that it is the chronically homeless that are the most quote-unquote expensive. They are the heaviest users of service. We will give chronically homeless people a priority. And my guess is out of the 16 people who are in Jackson right now, my guess would be that probably all but 2 or 3, maybe 2, were chronically homeless.
Okay, I hate to say this, Jenny, that did not answer my question. My question is, has there been a change in the 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness that is now expanded to the entire homeless population of Knoxville? That's the question. And I'd actually like Robert to answer that question, please.
Yeah, I want to ask you to repeat your question. We do have to move on after this. Okay. I'll ask you very quickly. Hold on a second. We need to talk about our next topics of discussion. But Mr. Peabody, I don't know if you've been following our story very closely or not.
You're kidding, right?
No.